What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Commanders Daily. I'm your host, Bob Matthews. This is your one-stop shop for everything about the local 53 every single solitary day of the week, not just during the season, but obviously during the offseason as well. Got a headline to hit here, and then we are going to talk about, we're going to continue on with our draft preview, looking at the running back position this time around. But first, we got to do headlines, and the Commanders did make a move to add to both their front office and their coaching staff by hiring former New England Patriots wide receiver and former Dolphins wide receiver coach Wes Welker earlier this week. Nikki Javala of the Washington Post was one of the first to have it. Welker is not coming here strictly, though, as a coach. This is a little bit of an interesting title that he's got. According to Nikki's story, he is going to join the team both as a personnel analyst and work with the coaching staff. So both in the front office and on the practice field. So why did Adam Peters and Dan Quinn do this, you ask? Well, number one, as far as stuff goes on the field, when you look at Wes Welker's career, before he was a wide receiver coach with the Dolphins, he worked with the San Francisco 49ers. He has experience working with wide receiver, say it with me, Deebo Samuel, one of the Redskins one of the Commanders too. You see, it happens to all of us every once in a while still. But Welker worked with Deebo Samuel in San Francisco, one of the Commanders' two huge free agent acquisitions. So having him be successful in this system is absolutely crucial. Welker also has experience working with Cliff Kingsbury and with special teams coordinator Larry Izzo. So he's a perfect fit on the coaching staff. Now, as far as why is he working in the personnel department? Well, Welker's always been highly thought of as an intelligent guy, a guy that could work in the front office one day. He also worked with Adam Peters, obviously, in San Francisco. So Peters, he's somebody that Peters knows, somebody that Peters trusts and respects. Bringing him in and having him work on the personnel side as well means that when somebody leaves, and believe me, people in the front office will be leaving in the next hiring cycle, maybe even Lance Newmark, the assistant general manager, would not be surprised to see that. It's a trickle-up effect. If Newmark or somebody else leaves, Welker can slide into one of the spots that's created. You don't have to get him up to speed because he's been with the organization for a year. It's actually a pretty good plan and a pretty good idea for Adam Peters. I know it's a little bit foreign to those of us who have been following the team for a number of years. This is what a credible organization does. This is how they hedge their bets on the future, knowing that they're not going to keep the band together forever. So a good thing, I think, that Wes Welker will be in D.C. Here this season. All reports say he'll be joining the club sometime around April 22nd, right as OTAs get started. All right, with the draft less than 2 weeks away, we want to take a look at some of the guys that maybe the Commanders and the front office are targeting. Now, obviously, we don't know, but look, it's not rocket science. You know where they pick, you know who's out there, and you know the position groups they need help in. And really, just about every team needs help in just about every position group every year, with the exception of, in the case of the Commanders, thankfully, quarterback now. And that gives them a lot more flexibility everywhere else. Running back. We want to look at the running backs today. Running back is one of the deepest positions in the draft this year. In fact, Daniel Jeremiah rates it as the second deepest part of the draft next to edge rushers, which we covered our last time out. So let's take a look at three running backs I think the Commanders could target here in the first couple of rounds. The first one is Omarion Hampton from North Carolina. He was a second-team All-American, had 1,660 yards rushing last year. He's a thumper of a back like Brian Robinson, but he's also got a little bit of a twitch to it. I was reading some scouting reports. He is really good at making that cut, and, if, say, the lineman doesn't get a perfect block on whoever they're trying to block, Hampton not only has good instincts, but the speed to cut something either back inside or outside and, make something out of nothing. That's something that the Commanders desperately need. Yes, I know. They've got Brian Robinson. They've got Austin Eckler. What you need are weapons. You need weapons, and in the case of running backs, big running backs that can do what? Work against the Eagles' huge defensive line, because that's the position that the Commanders are in now. It's not just about building a roster anymore. It's about getting specific personnel that you know are going to give you an edge against the Eagles, because you got to go through the Eagles if you're going to get to the Super Bowl. And yeah, for the first time in over a quarter of a century, this team is a Super Bowl contender right now. Now, the thing about Hampton is I think he might be gone by 29. Obviously, the Commanders are not trading up. Not only do they not have the draft capital to do it, but it's just not realistic. Hampton, I'm afraid, would probably be gone by 29, but you never know. He has been given a starting grade by all of the scouts. In fact, if you look at some of the projections, they say worst case scenario, he's just a spot starter. Best case scenario, he could, turn into 1,000 yards rushing a year guy. So Omarion Hampton, if he falls that far, is definitely somebody to keep an eye on. Number 2, I want to look at Cameron Skattebo. You might remember him from Arizona State. Helped him get into the college football playoffs last year. First team All-American, 1,711 yards. Another low-to-the-ground compact guy. One of the scouting reports on him said he sees the game like a linebacker, and that means he likes to initiate contact. That's what you want in a running back. Again, a running back on a team that has to play the Eagles in that huge defensive line twice a year. Now, he's not as quick out of the break, I don't think, as Omarion Hampton is. And, when you look at the rankings and stuff, if you want to go by the rankings and the analytics, he will be there most likely at the end of the first round, but I think drafting him in the first round might be a little high. That might be overdrafting him at 29. And then the big question is, does he fall to your second round pick, which is again somewhere in the late 50s, I think. You're at the bottom of the second round. He could very well be gone by then. But if he's not, again, another guy, keep an eye on. If he's there, he's somebody that the Commanders would definitely think about long and hard if they go running back in the first 2 rounds. And then finally, Dylan Sampson from Tennessee. He might actually be a perfect fit for this offense. More of a change of pace back, but really, really fast. He does need to work on his fumbling. That was a problem in college. We all remember problems guys like Antonio Gibson have had with that. But hey, if you can get the SEC Offensive Player of the Year, you definitely want to think about it. He is a little small, but obviously you get him on a weight program, he can bulk up. And he'd be a good second-round pick. So if you're looking at a guy that may very well split the difference here between those two guys, one that's going to go too early, one that would be a little bit too late, Dylan Sampson might be the guy that's just right. Again, provided Washington wants to go running back in the second round. We'll find out in less than 2 weeks. All right, that's going to do it for us today. Remember, hit the like and subscribe button. Join us every day of the week right here on the Fan Arts channel. We will be providing you Commanders updates and news every day of the week. We'll see you again tomorrow. Remember, like the wise man once said, if you're on your bike tonight, as always, do wear white.